Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. So today we continue to discuss about the Eightfold Paths. The third one, the right actions. In this right action, the Buddha reminds us that we need to restrain ourselves from harming or killing other people or even any sentient beings. So in Dhammapada 129, the Buddha said that all fear death, comparing others with oneself, one should neither kill nor curse to kill. So everyone want to live, no one want to die. That's why we need to respect other people's life. If we respect our life, so the most fear that people have is death. So that's why we need to restrain ourselves from harming others, especially take other life as well as the animal lives. So particularly in the monastic communities, the Buddha remind us that even the bandits brutally cut off his hands or legs with a two hands saw, he would not have any hatred toward those bandits. Otherwise, we would not consider as the Buddha disciple. So that is the lesson, a teaching the Buddha taught to monks and nuns, that even when we were harmed, we're not supposed to harm or kill others. So for the lay people, that is the most important precept, the first precept, that abstain from taking life. So the Buddha say that human life is so precious that we need to protect ourselves and others. So that's why if we harm others, that means we harm ourselves. That's why in one particular sutra, the Buddha said that the karma come from our killing. So if we recognize that, we would distress ourselves from the killing karma. And in another sutra, when the Buddha would ask why some people have a short lifespan, or why some people have the long lifespan, again, the Buddha based upon this kind of karmic analogy. So in the sutra, the short analysis of action, the Buddha mentioned that if someone try to kill or harm others by hand, any kind of ways or methods, so that person would be reborn in the low realm of existence, or when they become human, they have a short life. So that's why the Buddha remind us that we need to stay away from this type of killing karma. And like last time, we study about the first ever precept of Bodhisattva, the precept in the Brahmana Sutra. The Buddha also mentioned that we're not supposed to kill others. Kill with experience means press to kill. So no matter what kind of methods, we're not supposed to harm, to kill anyone else. And we even not supposed to encourage other to kill too. So basically, when it's deal with each individual jewel, that we're not supposed to engage in any kind of killing karma again, because life is so precious that everyone of us want to protect. That's why we need to stay away from that type of karma, the killing karma. So here, the Buddha remind us that when we come across to some situations, and this particular situation, even our life were in danger, still the least we can do is to have self-defense, not to harm others. So in one Buddhist Sutra, the Buddha say that uh, when someone win the battles, win the arguments, and someone lost the battles, lost arguments, they could not sleep well. But the other one that would not engage in the kind of battles, argument, or fightings, they would be more peaceful, especially at night while they are sleeping. So no matter what, the Buddha reminds us that we're not supposed to keep ourselves by using our hands, our legs, our uh, knife, stone, axe, and so forth that harm others, that may take away other people's life. And that's why for a Buddhist, the Buddha not encourage us to engage in the kind of war, because when we involved with that kind of situations or conflict, eventually we either harm others or other will harm us. So that's why Santi Deva, a 8th century Indian monks, he said that whenever conflict arises among living creatures, the sense of self is the cause. So the sense of attachment to the ego that causes the war or the conflict. That's why the Buddha reminds us that we need to stay away from those type of conflicts or fightings. So the Dhammapada again say that the victor has enmity, the one which are the defeaters dwell in sorrow, only the tranquil lives happily, avoiding both victory and defeat. So that's why the Buddha never encourage us to engage in any kind of fighting, especially war. Because when we talk about war, we talk about the fighting, the killing, and so forth. And especially uh, uh, we have that kind of experience during the World War I and World War II. Million people die because of the war of conflicts around the world. Let me show you briefly about uh, the uh, one of the fighting uh, toward the end of the war, what they call the D-Day, which landing. I may view the sound, but I will let you know what's happening. So, okay, the Allies dropped the bomb along the beaches. Uh, the I think Normandy, and it's all kind of killing, all kind of shootings, and all kind of death for both sides. The German soldier as well as the Allied soldiers. Uh, Again, in this type of war, there's millions and millions of people die, regardless of the size they stick with, whether it's in the Nazi side or in the Allied side. There's all kind of horror stories or horror scenes that people die uh, because of this type of war, or fighting or shooting on both sides. Mm. So I just want to show that clip briefly so that we can see that when we live in the peace times, we need to value this kind of peace we enjoy now. But when something happens, especially when war happen, um, there's no more peace for us to live. We will live in the constant fear of death, of being shot down, of being harmed, and so forth. So again, understanding the uh, damage or harming of the war, we need to promote, advocate peace uh, in our life, so that we can stay away from those type of killing karma that may affect to us and others. So that's why if we want to live a peaceful life, we need to have a peaceful mind. Because of that peaceful mind and peaceful life, there's no way for us to instigate the war, conflict, or fighting with other people. So that's why, as a Buddhist, we need to recognize this kind of principle. This is so important that we need to stick with no matter what happens. Of course, uh, sometimes some exceptional cases that we may discuss later on, like the soldiers, like the general, and so forth. They uh, have the obligations to protect their countries. That's different situation that we will discuss later on. We come back here. The Buddha say that again, we're not supposed to harm others because others want to live, no one want to die. We're not supposed to engage in any kind of fighting or shooting or killing. Uh, and of course, there's some controversial issues that happen nowadays that relate to abortion. Again, in Buddhism, we go against abortion because as long as the fetus was developing in the mother wombs, uh, no matter how long, as long as the mothers recognize this a life inside her womb. That means the development of the fetus. She's not supposed to abort or take out that fetus violently. So of course, the reason why it has become the commercial issue because it's involved with the woman right. So that's why Dalai Lama he said that unless there's some special cases like rapings and so forth, um, so it's better not to harm the unborn child. That's mean most a majority of Buddhists advocates for pro-life. That's mean we're not supposed to do any kind of abortions that harm unborn child. And when we talk about suicide, euthanasia, again, the Buddha say that we're not supposed to harm ourselves and others. There is some story that during the Buddha times, after the Buddha taught teachings of the impurity of this body, so many monks took that kind of teachings literally. So somehow they contemplate the impurity of this body to the point that they so disgust with this body, and that's why they ask their fellow monks to kill them. And after that, the Buddha admonished those monks that you're not supposed to harm others, and of course you're not to harm yourself too. I mean that you're not supposed to commit suicide because that is the killing karma there, and that's why he established the rules for the monks that they're not supposed to kill others as well as themselves. Of course, in some special cases in modern times, and we know that during Vietnam War in 1963, there's a Vietnamese monk who burned himself to protest the Catholic regime that tried to outlaw the Buddhist movement in Vietnam, or that Catholic president tried to oppress the religious right of the Vietnamese Buddhist people, and that's why Thích Quang Đức he immolated himself. That means he burned himself to protest about this kind of unfair treatment toward the Buddhist communities. So let me show you these video clips about how he dosed gasoline onto his body and burned himself as a way to protest the oppression from the Catholic regime in Vietnam in 1963. And because of this, later on, the international communities condemn Ngô Đình Diệm regime that oppress the Buddhist people and communities in Vietnam. So here you see that how he dosed himself with gasoline and burned himself. Of course, later on, all the monks followed his model to burn themselves as a way to protest the oppression of the Catholic regime. Again, in this type of situation, is not related to any kind of self-harming, but because the purpose of the kind of self-burning for protection of the numerous Buddhist traditions in our country. So again, Thích Quang Đức, he didn't burn himself because he committed suicide, but for the cause of the survival of Buddhism in Vietnam. And recently, we have heard that more than 150 Tibetan monks, nuns, lay people, including male and female, they burn themselves to protest the oppressions of the Chinese communist regime that has done harmly to their people, culture, and nation. That's been since 1959. The Chinese communists have killed millions of Tibetan people. They want to wipe out the Tibetan language, culture, and traditions. And that's why those Tibetan monks, nuns, lay people burn themselves as a form of protest. Let me show you this short video clips about what happened.
Over its repressive policies and blame China's leadership for causing protesters to take their lives. Here's more.
A second man has self-immolated in Tibet, the second such protest against Chinese communist rule this year. London-based Free Tibet reports the victim is a 28-year-old man known as Dukcha. He died on Friday afternoon after setting himself on fire in the Aba Tibetan Autonomous Prefecture in Sichuan province. On Sunday, Tibetans living in exile in Dharamsala, India, protested what they say are repressive policies by the Chinese regime.
Even weather-wise, it's a very difficult situation, and with the ongoing suppression, one more self-immolation has raised the number of self-immolations to 98 so far. And we still have 2 more unconfirmed reports. So as of today, it's almost 100. We appeal to the Chinese government to listen to the cries of the Tibetans and also the world community to impress upon the Chinese leadership that it's for the betterment of Chinese government that they seek a solution to the Tibetan issue, both in terms of the extremely grave situation inside Tibet now, and also the long-term solution of the Tibet.
There were hopes that China's new leadership under party chief Xi Jinping would loosen its tight grip over Tibet, but those hopes were dampened when senior Chinese official Yu Zhensheng said earlier this month the Chinese regime would continue its, quote, fight against the Dalai Lama clique.
Okay, so you see that because of the Chinese culture renaissance of the Tibetan traditions, religions, and culture, and that's why up to now there's more than 150 of them burn themselves as a form of protesting this type of culture renaissance of the Tibetan traditions and religions, especially Buddhism. So the reason why I mentioned about this type of self-burning because it's quite different from commit suicide. And that means when someone don't want to live anymore, they so frustrated of their own life. Of course, they may take their own life. But for those protesters, like Thích Quang Đức and the Tibetan monks, nuns, and lay people, they burden themselves because of the cause for their nation, for their religions, and for their culture. They could not use the bombs or any kind of weapons to harm others. Even those people harm them and their family monks and men, culture, religions, and so forth. And so, because of this first precept that Buddhists, whether they are monastics or lay people, they're not supposed to harm the ones. That's why the most they can do is to burn themselves so that they could awaken other people to recognize the oppressions that happening in their country or in their communities, especially when it's related to the reason why Thích Quang Đức burned himself. The Catholic regimes oppress the Buddhist people in South Vietnam in that times during Vietnam War. And that's why he did that to take the word that we need to be treated equally with other people face. So, and this happened to the Tibetan people too. So again, with this kind of exceptions, we recognize as somehow those people satisfy their own life to burn themselves for the cause of their traditions and religion, especially Buddhism, or for the cause of the culture and nation. So that's the exceptions cases. And otherwise, the Buddha remind us that we're not supposed to harm ourselves with the personal reason. So we need to recognize the differences between these two motivations. One is for the cause of the nation, religion, and traditions. Another one is because of depression or whichever cause someone to commit suicide. And on the top of that, another things that happen in modern times, we talk about how nowadays some people they don't want to live regardless of the reason, and of course some doctor they support those kind of wishes. Uh, that's what we call euthanasia. There's been if someone want to die soon, the doctor would support or help them to pass away quicker. So in Buddhist view, again, we would not recommend any kind of suicidal, but of course, in some circumstances that we may need to take in considerations, but still, most of us would prefer not to follow that way, to assist the killing. Of course, some special cases that the patient is so painful and they're so frustrated and so forth. So again, this is very touching or sensitive matters that we need to recognize. And again, when we encounter this kind of situation, it's not easy for us to handle, but still we need to be careful how we assist other people, especially we know that if we help them, they would lose their life. That's why we need to be careful about this type of situation. So that's why in the first precept of the lay people, as well as the first precept of the Bodhisattva, so the Buddha said that we must not kill by ourselves. We're not supposed to encourage other people to kill. And sometimes we don't want to involve in the kind of killing karma. But if we encourage them in writing, uh, in speech or action, they show that, oh, we approve that type of killing. So the Buddha say that again, we commit this type of killing karma along with those killers. Or on the top that we're not supposed to praise the killing. So we're not supposed to say, oh, it's good to do this kind of killing, you read hero and so forth. Especially during the war, as a Buddhist, we're not supposed to encourage our people to use weapons to harm each other. But still, again, um, there's some special cases, and depend upon the situations, the soldiers, the general, and so forth, they are supposed to protect the countries, and they keep the weapons to protect their country and people. Again, these two things that we need to put into considerations. The persons is yes, without them, the country will be in chaos, and all the country may invade and bring more harms to the people. That's why is the soldiers in general have the responsibilities to take arms and protect the country in one way as good karma, but in other way, again, they may take the responsibility to protect the country, and of course in the battlefield they may shoot down other sentient beings too. But again, that's the karma consequences they need to accept. It's in both way. So depend how they views. But no matter what, the Buddha reminds that it's better to stay away from the killing karma, especially we're not supposed to engage in the kind of fighting or shooting. And so go back here, even we don't engage in any kind of killing or fighting, we're not supposed to praise others. We're not to um, uh, show our delightfulness when we witness the killing. So that is why we're not supposed to involve with any kind of that kind of killing, because for the killers, probably they may have some kind of hesitation to shoot or harm others. But if we encourage them to kill, if we praise them, or we show any kind of enjoyment, delightfulness, and so forth, they have the kind of encouragement uh, to kill others. And of course, when it's time for us to go to the court, and the judge may ask us whether we go along with that type of killing or not. If we do, we fit trouble. We may be put in jail because we compromise with the killers or criminals or the murderers. So that's why here the Buddha reminds us that we're not supposed to kill any one, and even to praise, to encourage others to kill too. And on top of that, in this precept, the Buddha's precept, the Buddha goes into detail that he reminds that we're not supposed to employ any methods whatsoever to kill any living beings. That means we're not supposed to set a trap. We're not supposed to kill other people by put some poisons in their food. We're not supposed to ambush others. We're not supposed to dig the hole in the ground, put a fire so that they will be burned, they will fall down into that hole, and so forth. So no matter what, if it's involved in killing, whether we kill directly or indirectly, so we still commit this offense and this serious karmas. So of course, when we talk about the war, it all kind of methods that people try to kill each other. Again, the human mind is so wonderful. If we know how to use it in the positive way and beneficial way, yes, we would invent all kind of things that could be helpful for humanities. And like we design the house, the buildings, the cars, the airplanes, and so forth for the convenience of our life. But on the other hand, if we don't know how to use our mind the proper way, we could invent all kind of things that may harm ourselves and others. So when someone develop the weapons, in Buddhist view, that is because that other people may use those weapons to harm others. So no matter what type of weapons, whether it's the knife, the sword, the guns, the bomb, anything that relate to the means or methods or ways to harm or to kill others. And so that's why here in this Buddhist precept, the first one that the Buddha say a Bodhisattva, the one that made the vows to practice this kind of precept, must not involve himself in the cause of killing, the condition of killing, and the methods of killing and the karma of killing. Because to killing that means the intention to kill. Again, if we don't have any type of intention, it would not become a karma. Anything we do with intention that would formulate the karma. For example, while we drive our car on the road, on the freeway, somehow a deer jump out of nowhere, from the forest, mountain, and accidentally we hit that deer. In Buddhist view, yes, we would not do any kind of killing karmas because we don't have any kind of intention to hit that deer. But of course, for the hunters in Buddhist view, yeah, he has intention to hunt down animals that commit the cause of killing or the intention of killing. The condition of killing has been one create the condition like use the guns, use the arrow, use the hammers and so forth to kill others. And this, of course, is involved in the methods too, using any kind of weapons, any kinds of ways, methods of killing, like poisons, people food, or setting a trap, and so forth. And when the life of sentient beings, whether they are human beings or animal beings, have been cut off, that means they have died. That's when we commit this kind of killing karma. So that's why in this particular sutra, the Buddha said that to extent that we cannot have the intention to kill not only human beings, but also any living creatures. Again, that relate to animal rights. And we know that as human, we want to live, but somehow we don't respect other, especially the little one, the animals. So they want to live too. Look at an ant. When we use our fingers to touch them, they would run away from us. They would not dare to stare at us at all. So that's why we need to recognize that they want to live, they don't want to die. So since time is up, let me stop here today. And again, in this session, we review the right action, especially the killing precept that the Buddha reminds us that we're not supposed to kill by ourselves. We're not supposed to encourage other people to kill and so forth. So next time we will discuss about why we need to respect the life of animals, even they cannot speak out their right. Let's us conclude here, and we see next time. Namo Shakyamu Buddha.